plaintiffs in this lawsuit are in a difficult place because it's easy to allege a pump and dump, but it's much harder to prove it by facts and evidence that are admissible in a court of law. And this case will come down to a battle of experts, economics guys trying to argue really complicated market forces and pin them on the actions of one company. Now, the other issue I see right away will be damages. It's possible that certain plaintiffs bought at the allegedly inflated prices and sold at a loss. But it's also possible that some plaintiffs held on to some or all of their Bitcoin and are actually now up in their positions making money. I mean, Bitcoin recently topped its 2018 value, so it's very possible. And that would mean no damages for the long-term holders. In any case, the lawsuit certainly has teeth. There's some really bad stuff in there, but it's going to be difficult to meet the burden of evidence to prove that the defendants actually specifically caused the spike in price. Now, as the defendant says, quote, coincidence does not equal causation, and that is absolutely true. But there does come a point where even a circumstantial case can be proven, and there are some allegations in this complaint which would lead up to that point, and I think meet the burden if they are indeed proven. Now, I can't tell you what the ultimate resolution will be, but what I can guarantee you is that this is a case that will not be resolved quickly.
All right, everybody. Welcome back for another one. And I wanted to start this video off with that clip from Mr. Jeremy Hogan, an attorney that has decided to weigh in on a lot of the ongoing cases in the crypto community. So if you guys haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to him for sure. He does this channel Legal Briefs. He's covered the XRP and SEC lawsuit. But really, I just wanted to touch on the Tether one because I covered it myself a few days ago, but I'm not an attorney. You know, I don't have any legal education per se. My stuff is all in the financial area, so it's good to hear from somebody who knows what they're talking about. A couple of main points I wanted to point out for you. Basically, he said that the case is going to be challenging for the plaintiff to prove, and that ultimately it's going to take some time. So, two important things, right? Tough to prove for the Tether allegations, and then it's probably not going to be done anytime soon, right? So you heard a lot of people, like, they were just talking about January 15th, the last day to give up all the papers, like they're just going to go through immediately, review all the documentation they saw, and then make a ruling. No, right? That's not how it works. This guy's kind of showing us how it just doesn't unfold, and quit spreading that FUD, essentially. So, there you have it. Tether case exists. Might take a lot longer to get through it than most are expecting. Moving on to the charts. First and foremost, HBAR hash graph. I've been calling for this one for a while. So basically, a few days ago, I broke down that I had doubled my position. Lucky me, I doubled my position on January 6th. And since then, 2 weeks, it's up about 165% currently, with a peak of around 200%. So one of my good moves right there. You asked me to give you some calls. Well, this was one of them. Personal opinion, I think this thing can continue to run a lot more. All right, so we're at about 10 cents now. Where I bought in was about 3.5 cents. But if you come over to CoinMarketCap and check out their circulating supply, currently it's only about 6.7 billion. So even getting to $1 would not be unrealistic. Right, so if you got to $1 with HBAR hash graph, that would basically have it sitting right at about number 10 right now. So with all things equal, if nothing else moved, only HBAR, it would move into the top 10. I think it's definitely a top 10 project. It's just more plugged in than, pretty much any of these crypto projects that you see, with the amount of partnerships and real companies that are actually building on the platform. So it only makes sense, right? So don't be surprised if it keeps running. I think it has a lot of room to go. I think it was fairly silly how low it was trading as far as market cap compared to these others. I mean, like I showed you before, Polkadot launched at like a $5 billion market cap. You could argue Terra has a brighter future than Polkadot. But we'll see. Obviously, no one knows what's going to happen. Don't be surprised if it continues to run up here to top 10 area. All right. Quick picture too to show you everyone working or in the Hedera community, right? A lot of big name companies, as I mentioned: Avery Dennison, Delta, Boeing, Deutsche Telekom, DLA Piper. You go down the list, Reuters right there. So you guys get it, right? LG. I'm sure a lot of these others are big too. I just don't know them. There's clearly a lot that stick out, right? UPS there as well. So, all right, next one that I think is just gonna pull a Hedera that hasn't yet quite. The charts look very similar, actually, right? So, but anyway, Atom Cosmos. This project has a lot of upside left as well, I'm sure. So, a lot of these setups right now are looking very similar, right? They all came out around the same time. You had Hedera launch in October of 2019, September timeframe, with Cosmos in May. So that's why the prices are kind of looking similar. I just wanted to point all of these ones out because they all have something in common, right? They didn't participate in the last bull run. So they all have a big potential for unknown price discovery, right? None of these projects have been around. So the sky is the limit for how high they can pump because no one's aiming for any price in particular, right? So I think an easy one to think that could happen for Atom Cosmos during this period of time would be $100. I think $100 is a fairly realistic price target. Anything beyond that is just more price discovery. Another one that looks very similar, right, is Algorand. Algorand hasn't had its big breakout yet. Still trading around 52 cents. Hitting the cross on the moving averages. Got basically a giant head and shoulders pattern in here as well. So once this breaks, it's gone. I'm very close to doing so. And at 50 cents, once again, a great project itself. I've heard Brian Brooks mention Algorand as well. So when you got people like that mentioning projects, that means that they're talked about in back rooms, right? All right, that's it for the price charts. If you guys have got some stuff you want me to look at that you think can be explosive, I do see it mentioned in the comments every now and then. Just sometimes I get distracted or I start working on other stuff or, I go to my job that I have as well. So I can't do everything. But if you want to drop some in the comments that you want me to look at and give my opinion, I would love to do that as well. Go ahead and leave that. But moving on to the news, the most important news piece I think to say for today is that the SEC's crypto mom is demanding innovation and says you can't prosecute an algorithm. The commissioner of the SEC, Hester Pierce, told an audience at CFC 2021 that crypto regulation should be focused on innovation and that the U.S. should be number one. The U.S. should be number one. So, give you some guidance. So, SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce, she spoke. She talked about the new Biden-appointed chairman and touched on her hopes of providing the cryptocurrency space with some safe harbor, right? So that's bullish, right, as a whole. She goes on to say the goal of regulation should be to provide clarity and that she hoped the new chairman would make sure the U.S. was still conducive to innovation. So we really need to embrace innovation and figure out how we can set up a regulatory environment that's conducive to innovation, which I think in our space means providing clarity, all right? We're just reiterating the same stuff over and over at this point. But, Gary Gensler is this new chairman that was chosen. So of all the people that could have been chosen to work with her, Gary clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to crypto, okay? So, with that being said, I think that the whatever conclusions they come to with all these projects will be fair rulings. All right. And like I've said before with the XRP case, I think what's going to happen is they're just going to have to do something with the escrow. Either give it away, burn it, or its custody is taken by a government entity. We'll see. But the target is the escrow. Guess who's back? Jack Ma's back. Back again. So Jack Ma resurfaces in new video after an almost 3-month disappearance. There was a lot of people speculating what happened to Jack Ma. I saw a video going around of this guy, Chinese guy, talking about how billionaires in China typically end up just dying or disappearing at some point in their life. Like they don't get to just retire and that's it. Just that the Chinese Communist Party eventually takes control of them and they get rid of them or whatever. So a lot of people were speculating that this guy was gone, right? Because he disappeared for 3 months. Well, he's back now. And for those of you who don't know, he's the founder of Alibaba, giant company over there in China. It's basically China's Amazon. But anyway, because of the world we live in, this news like this causes the share price to rise by 9%. So, maybe if you were betting against him being gone, you could have participated in that 9% pump. So, interesting times. But anyway, so what happened was Ant Group, the the collective entity that they work with, has, as they say, over the past months, come under fire for its allegedly monopolistic overreach and fallen prey to the Chinese Communist Party's Politburo's intent to prevent a disorderly expansion of capital. So what happened, right? Late October of last year was the last time Ma was seen. At the time, he was delivering a speech that was sharply critical of both regulators and China's banking sector. And then he disappeared. And that was that. So, and that was at the same time that China stopped this Ant Group of doing an IPO for a company that was going to receive over 300 billion in valuation. Yeah, crazy stuff. So, but anyway, he's back. So, tell your friends. Tell a friend. Exchanges running out of ETH with reserves plunging 27% in 48 hours. All right, so this article is old, but I just want to reiterate basically, it's only 5 days old, but so the idea is, right, that, pull up this diagram. So basically what's been going on, the price has been pumping steadily with the reserves of Ethereum decreasing. And then all of a sudden, 6 days ago now at this point, the reserves dumped to only 8 million Ethereum available for all of these exchanges, right? So I think this is going to continue to go as Ethereum 2.0 comes out with staking, locking them up, and then DeFi incentives to lock up Ethereum as well. And as they say, that we all know what happened when demand outstripped supply of BTC. It quadrupled in 90 days. Well, the Ethereum chart looks almost identical to Bitcoin's. It just looks like it's about a month behind. So we'll see what happens. I'm placing my bets on Ethereum short term. As I mentioned, I reallocated some funds in my IRA over into the Ethereum Grayscale Trust as well. Just participate in my traditional brokerage account. All right. One more piece to touch on. GBTC has a new competitor in the OTC Bitcoin Trust market. So I've talked about Grayscale a lot lately. Saw this article, so I wanted to talk about this one as well. So there's a new one called Osprey Funds offering their OTC Bitcoin Trust under the ticker symbol OBTC. The big difference maker here is that it has only a 0.49% management fee. If you've been following me, you know I've talked about how Grayscale's is 2.5%, which is outrageous. There's no reason they should be charging a fee like that to just basically custody crypto. Right? They've been getting away with it because they have no competition. Well, here comes the competition. Right? So I also wanted to point this out because I believe that these Osprey funds, they're only operating under Reg D. So GBTC is under Reg A and D, which allows non-accredited investors to access the fund, such as myself, in these brokerage accounts, as I'm suggesting. So right now, this is not going to be available for the average person, OTC, only accredited investors. And as I showed you with the Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin trusts being completely blown out of proportion with their premiums, I think this is why. So accredited investors face a $25,000 minimum to buy directly into the trust for Osprey. Shares have a lockup period of 1 year before they can be sold in the secondary market. So they invest $25,000 minimum. They have to wait a year before they can go onto the markets and sell them to the other guys, essentially. But Grayscale, as I say, in contrast, the Bitcoin Trust requires assets to be locked up for only 6 months. So what I'm thinking is these Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash trusts have not been locked up long enough for the majority of the circulating shares to be able to be traded on the secondary market. That's why the prices just don't really make sense. So it would probably be in your best interest, or anyone's best interest that is looking into these, to wait some time, at least for Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin, to allow these shares to be freed up to be traded in the secondary market, because that will significantly affect the price. Okay, so, and as you can see here, I'm not tripping with the numbers that I showed you in my last video. The holdings per share, Grayscale posted this yesterday, right? So holdings per share for Bitcoin Trust, $35. The market price of the share is at 38. So a little bit of a premium there. But when you look at Bitcoin Cash, holdings per share, $4.86, whereas the market price per share is 25.5. Massive difference. Same can be seen with Litecoin, even worse, right? Holdings per share at $14.75, whereas the market price is $330. So it doesn't really make sense to be investing in those yet. It's going to take some time. Need to let the market adjust naturally. But with the Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, you can see the premium's not too large. Holdings per share for Ethereum, about $14, where the market price was 16.4 yesterday, and then Ethereum Classic 740 to 955. So once again, hope that was informative. As always, please like and subscribe, share with your friends and family, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.
What is a cashless society? What does it actually mean in a literal or high-level sense?
Money will become like these, relics of a different age, and will only be found in places like this. In other words, hard cash will disappear. It will become electronic, transferred by things like these.
Then Tracy is in Beijing to show us what a nearly cashless society actually looks like. Ben, good morning.
Mobile payment transactions in China reached a cumulative total of 277.4 trillion RMB in 2018, ranking #1 in the world, according to the recently released statistical report on internet development in China. As of June 2019, online payment users in the country reached 633 million. The cashless society is now approaching.
When's the last time you paid with cash? Well, chances are cash has taken a backseat to the plastic in your wallet and smartphone pay apps.
Denver 7's Ryan Luby explains the digital pay revolution and why not everyone is on board.
The cashless society, the cashless society.
The cashless society.
The cashless society is now approaching.
The cashless society.